Okay, let's start out with some of the oldest weapons here that were used in the Civil War, and that would be this 1836 Potsdam rifle, and that was actually made in Germany. The Union Army imported about 165,000 of those. Now that's a muzzle loader, as many of these early weapons were, and that was replaced primarily with the Whitney long rifle that you see right here. And the Whitney rifle was an improvement because it had a rifled barrel, and it was a lot more accurate than the old Potsdam. Carbine, as you can see, was a smaller gun. It was originally developed to be used by the cavalry on horseback or as they got off their horses. And this was a real game changer in the Civil War. In fact, Custer had these at the Battle of Gettysburg, and then the Union Army continued to put those into production later on in the war. And after the war, they were used on the frontier. This is called the Georgia Pike, and the Confederacy was short on weaponry and manufacturing facilities, so they issued about 10,000 of these to the Georgia infantrymen. Now just imagine if you were in combat and you had a pike and your enemy had a rifle. It's another carbine, and this was developed by the General Burnside. And like I said, the nice thing, you can actually pick these guns up, see how they operated. We don't have any ammunition here, so if you wish, you can actually cock them, aim them. So that's very good. Another gun that was developed after the Civil War, and that would be the Winchester model 1886. And this was the lever action repeating rifle. And this is the rifle that pretty much tamed the West, as he said. This Whitney long rifle here, which is a muzzle loader, and of course you'd have to pack it down, put in your powder first, and then your wadding and the ball. And when I toured the Gettysburg battlefield, the guide told us that about half the soldiers who were killed at Gettysburg, they either were killed with the ramrod in their musket, or they had double loaded it. A Remington 44 caliber Army revolver. That's the revolver on the top here. It got to be one of the more popular revolvers. In fact, that was carried by Buffalo Bill Cody. The revolver that we see here is a Navy revolver that wasn't real popular. It had a kind of an unusual mechanism here. These are all both single action, which meant that you had to cock them and then fire them, as opposed to double action, which would do that all in one motion. But you had to cock it down here with the ring and then fire it, or you had to cock here and then reload it with the ring and then fire with the trigger. The authentic Confederate belt buckle, which Mitch Miller also has on display here, is quite a collector's item. He says those originals go for about $2,000, obviously. That's why it's under glass. So the collection belongs to Mitch Miller, who's a great friend of the Seymour Community Museum. He has about 50 guns in his collection. These are mostly Civil War era guns that we have on display here. There's no replicas here. They're 100% authentic. And like I said, each one has just a little different mechanism for loading and firing, and that's what's intriguing to me. And just to have some of these things, bring the kids in if they want to pick up a carbine to see what it's like or see what was loaded. We have a little explanation on each so they can explain the difference between the muzzle loader and the breech loading guns, the percussion. And it's a nice educational experience for people of all ages. For the Seymour area here in Chano and the surrounding communities, I think this is just an excellent opportunity to come and see some Civil War weapons and meanwhile visit the rest of our museum.